in its second issue, tried to explain to me. And he wanted to know that what he could do if they would it was a greater city, becoming monument to the courage and faith of the unsouthern Americans. Buffalo hunter who with his breaking up
Hello, my name is Dean Contover, and this is a history show. Today we have a gentleman who was in the Greek army. His name is Dimitrios Mattheos, and he's going to tell us about the Greek army and how it was. He was in the Greek army in 1967 and 1965 to 1967, I'm sorry. And he will tell us about the experiences in the Greek army. I thought it'd be nice to get somebody from a different army to talk about their experiences, because it's not like the American army, and they don't get well paid, but we'll talk about that a little later. If you know anybody that was in the British Army or any army in the world, please have them call Chelmsford Telemedia, and we will get them on the show, because I'd like to talk about other people's armies and their experiences. So please have them call us. If you're in the American Army, definitely we want you on the show. We want the experiences and everything. Today, Dimitri is a businessman in Lowell, Massachusetts. He was in the Greek army. It's a conscript army. Everybody has to be in the army. It's an army of over 100,000 people per population. It's the largest army in the world per population. So I just want to let you know that. Everybody has to be in the army. All the males have to go in the army at 19 years old. And usually it's for 2 years, but I think they've reduced that down now to less than 2 years. We'll talk about it a little more. So Dimitri is a businessman here in Lowell, and he decided to immigrate to the United States, and he's going to talk about the Greek army. He's going to talk about growing up in Greece a little bit before we get into the army. Dimitri, what part of Greece did you grow up in? Where were you born? And do you have a large family or a small family? Or?
First, I would like to thank you for inviting me here to speak about our experiences in the Greek army. I come from the island of Evia. And I come actually from the northern part of the island. And the island is out of 250,000 people populated. I came to this country, and I'm so glad I did, 40 years ago, incidentally, this week.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And I never regret it. I have a business in Lowell. I have a family established. We have 3 kids. They're all doing very well.
Good.
And thank God we live in America.
I know one of your children is a physician in Newburyport. Are you correct? So you're very proud of him.
Yes, he's an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay. Was he ever in the American military?
No.
No.
None of my kids went to the army.
Okay, good.
I wish there was a mandatory army, because I strongly believe every man should attend a military. This is the basic training of life, and it should start here in the army. You go to the army to be trained to defend yourself. You are not there in the army to kill. But at the same token, you learn about life, you learn about values, you learn about hardship. And unless you have all of this in life, you cannot succeed. You have to come up from the bottom up.
I always say that best soldier is a non-violent soldier.
This is true. It's true. If you know how to defend yourself, you don't foolishly go out and kill.
Right.
And unfortunately, this is something that our leaders should look into this, and to make an army which will stand only to train the people to defend themselves.
Good point. You have a valid point. Okay, so at 19 years old, everybody goes into the military in Greece. Every male goes into the military.
Every male. At the time when I went in the military, which is many years ago, as you can see, we all had to go through the, there is a group of people, army people, that you go by and they check you out physically and mentally and everything, and then you receive a notification to go to the army. You don't know where you're going to go, if you're going to be in the army or in the Navy or in the Air Force. but everybody goes.
Everybody goes. It's conscript. Everyone's go. What happens if you don't physically make it?
Then they give you a discharge.
Okay.
You don't make it, you just get a discharge, but that follows you the rest of your life.
Oh.
You have a difficulty getting into a government job. At the time, it was difficult to get a passport to get out of the country. Of course, things have changed now.
Oh, good, for the better.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're for the better.
Okay. So what happens is, you go through a board, and they make a decision whether you go into the Air Force, Navy, or Army. You couldn't volunteer for what you wanted to do.
There is a volunteer army if you wanted to do that, but it's a different process.
I see. Okay. So there's, from what I read, because I went online and I read this, there's a professional army, a volunteer army, and a conscript army.
Correct. That's now. Then it wasn't that way.
Oh, okay, then, okay.
Now the army is about 9 months, well, a year to 9 months.
Okay.
Then it was mandatory 24 months.
Well, Greece is in NATO, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the history of the army, do they teach you the history of the army when it was? I'm gonna go through, it's called the Hellenic Army, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. The Hellenic Army fought in these wars, the War of Greek Independence, the Greco-Turkish War of 1897, the First Balkan War, the Second Balkan War, World War I, the Allied expedition to the Ukraine, the Greco-Turkish War of 1912 and 1922, World War II, the Greek Civil War, which is after World War II, the Korean War, the Gulf War, and the war in Afghanistan, and the war on terrorism. So
Greece has been always with United States in every war since its inception. In every war, from the Balkan War all the way to today's war in Afghanistan. Greece is a great supporter of this country. Greece is a great ally of our country.
right.
And one country who you can trust. Our government here has the best ally that you could have, Greece. We have served all along on the Koreans, as I said, all the way to Afghanistan today.
And don't forget, the Americans helped us in the Greek Civil War in regards to supplies and their expertise. It was a civil war won by the Americans with the Greeks fighting the war. Basically, all we had was advisors there.
Well, this is an issue that have come after the Second World War in 1946-47,
right,
where the country was in shambles. I don't know if you recall the Marshall Plan, which America,
I remember reading
American
about
citizens were sent out food and clothing, and of course Greeks were at the time, they had no country, they had nothing. The war had destroyed almost everything.
Right.
And it's so unfortunately, Greece is right in the center of a controversy, from north, from south, from east, from west. Everywhere you look, geographically is in the best spot. At the same token, is in the best spot for enemies. And of course, the arch enemy is still Turkey.
Right.
So now things are smoothing out a little bit. The world's order is changing.
When you were in the military, the arch enemy was basically from the north, wasn't it? Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, and Turkey.
No, Turkey.
The Turkey?
At the time when I was in 65 to 67, it was Turkey. I served 700 meters away from the Turkish border.
Okay.
Yeah, right along the river. And I've seen how...
Well, all right, let's talk about it then. You saw the Turks on the other side, and they looked at you. You had your binoculars on them, and they had your binoculars on you.
Well,
did you ever talk to them one-on-one
no,
on the border?
I personally didn't.
Oh.
But what happened is this. We could see, I happened to go close enough to the river, where across from the river, Turkey is. Yeah. And I could see how they abusing the soldiers there at the time. They were abusing the soldiers.
Abusing the soldiers physically?
Physically. So, of course, I don't know what happened now, but then it was...
Oh, yeah? They came down with the stick and beat the soldiers?
We had a very well-trained army. And at one point, in 1966, I believe we had a lot of problems with the Turks up there. And,
Up on the river.
Yeah, I remember the Cypriots when the Turks invaded Cyprus and all of that, and we had tensions all the time. I can tell you stories. We were on duty 24 hours a day, 15 days, without even taking out our shoes. And when you take out your shoes, you take out your socks and you take the skin with you. This kind of situation. But
No, I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, obviously there were hostilities, and there's still hostilities to some degree. But you're both NATO countries.
well, both NATO countries and both buy the most from armaments. You can tell me why. We sell Greece airplanes.
Weapons, yeah.
We go to the next country, we sell them more. Then we come back, oh, the others have more. Let's buy more. And that is why the country is in this situation that is today. Per capita, they spend more money than anything else. So
On weapons.
on weapons. Now it's
You have to remember, what happens is there are many islands in the Aegean Sea, and a lot of these islands there's overflight by the Turkish Air Force. And what happens is the Greek Air Force has to scramble planes and go after these. We don't hear it in the United States, but this is a common problem, that there's sorties that fly over the Greek islands. And what happens is the Greek air bases are alerted and they have to send up planes and chase them back into Turkey.
It's so unfortunate. This is happening on a daily basis. And especially, as you just mentioned, two NATO allies. Well, it doesn't mean that because they are two NATO allies, they are both friends.
Right.
And we could never trust the Turks. History is telling us that this is not the case. They know that they are not supposed to come into our area. They know that United Nations, they have taken votes violating the airspace. They know they're violating the human rights. They know they're violating everything, especially in the island of Cyprus.
Okay.
Since 1974, United Nations condemned everything that happened in that island. What happened? They're still there. So
There's a Turkish section of Cyprus and there's a Greek section of Cyprus, and there's a Turkish army that occupies northern Cyprus. I just want to, historically, facts to tell you, because it's a major issue in Greece in regards to the occupation of Cyprus by the Turkish army. But let's go back. Let's go back and talk about basic training. How long your basic training? We can get back to these issues later. Let's talk about basic training. Beginning, you got called up, you were drafted, conscript. Your first base, where's the basic training base?
well, I was in the army, in the artillery.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay.
And the basic training was in Thiva.
Thiva, okay.
This is an ancient city of Greece. It's right in the center, just northeast of Athens.
Okay, Athens is the capital.
Yes.
Okay.
And up on the mountains. So we were trained us for 2 months, actually, 8 weeks.
Okay.
And then everybody goes to different places all over the country.
You're assigned different units.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of rifle did you use in basic training?
Well, I had an M1,
Okay.
and I have a bar also.
A bar,
BAR.
BAR. Yeah, okay.
So
Brown and automatic rifle.
that bar, to carry it on.
Oh yeah, it's very heavy.
It was a heavy
Weapon.
And
But you're a big boy, so that's why
Well,
they assigned you that.
When you're young and 19 years old, you tend to do everything they tell you.
Yeah.
And this is why I strongly believe all the young people should go to the army
Right.
and learn how to survive.
Right. Okay. So you're in basic training. You're assigned to your unit. Most of the units along in Greece, most of the major units were on the border of Yugoslavia, Albania, Bulgaria, and Turkey.
Yes.
That's where the predominant military is, up on that in that
Yes.
tier.
Well, the the first time I was transferred into Sidirokastron, which is the triethnest, three countries.
Three corners.
Three corners.
Yeah, corners.
Greece, Bulgaria, and
Albania. Okay.
I stayed there for 8.5 months. And then one day I received a notification to move up. Everybody was going down south. They sent me all the way up, close to Turkey, Sufli.
Okay, so that would be, instead of being north of the border, you would move to the east.
All the way to
all
Turkey.
to the Turkey,
Yes.
the Turkish border, which is east.
Yeah.
Okay.
While I was in Sidirokastron, I was on the parade in Salonika, the March 25th parade.
Oh,
We
March.
have-
Well, explain what March
Yeah.
25th is.
Well, March 25th is the celebration of the Greek nation. The Greek Independence Day is like the independence we have here for 4th of July.
Okay.
And that happened in 1821 on March 25th,
Right.
when the Greeks broke up the 400 years Ottoman Empire.
Of occupation.
Of occupation.
As the Greeks say, occupation.
Yes, it was occupation, and this is what the occupation is today in Cyprus.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that they continuously do, occupied the island, the northern, the most beautiful part of Cyprus,
With
the
all
northern part.
With all the beautiful beaches.
That's right.
Thank you.
And it's desolated. This area is a disaster there. And though the world cannot see what they have done, they cannot see it.
Mm-hmm.
And what they are doing even today with the Petrocade.
Okay. So you moved up to the Turkish border. How long were you up there with the Turkish border?
I was up there another 8 months.
Another 8 months. Any incidents, shootings, artillery rounds?
Shootings, suicides,
Suicides.
I would say. A lot of people could not take it.
No kidding.
Yes, oh yes. I never recall the day. It was August 15. Big day for
What
the
year?
Greek nation.
August 15th?
Of 66.
66,
Yes.
okay.
I was up in, as I said, near Turkey, and I was 2 to 4 standing on the pyromachika, which means all the
Towers or something?
no,
or the line?
yeah, we're outside in the
Yeah,
fields.
yeah, okay.
Guarding the ammunition.
Okay, the ammo dump, we call
Yeah,
it.
the ammunition,
yeah, the
of all the
yeah.
rockets and everything.
Yeah.
I was guarding it, and the guy forgot to come and exchange me, to change
Yeah,
every
to
2
change
hours
the guard.
to change
Yeah,
the guards.
great.
And of course, it's away from the town where we live. We live in a town that was abandoned, and everybody had gone to Germany from there, and we took over the town.
Oh, no kidding. How far away from the border was the town?
The town was about half a mile,
Half a mile.
700 yards.
Yeah, okay.
So, and I never forget, I stayed there from 2 o'clock until the next day at 12 o'clock. You cannot never leave your
post,
assignment,
yeah.
your post, never.
Especially if they were commandos that snuck in or something,
you
they
can
could
never
blow up.
do
Yeah.
that. I
Good
had to
point. Yeah,
stay
you were-
until the next one came.
So
and
how
they
did you go to the
chased me.
bathroom? You managed.
There is an open space there.
Okay. I just, how'd you eat?
You see God,
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
and nobody else.
I'm sure. Okay, so basically, so you were at this place for,
For 8 months.
and you were on guard duty for how long?
Guard duty. That
I
day,
did-
that
that
day I
day.
was from 2 o'clock until 12 o'clock.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Wow.
Night, yeah.
Wow.
You could
So,
not live.
all right, let's talk about the suicides. What happened to some of these young
Well,
Greek boys?
Some young people cannot take it while they're there.
That happens-
like something like this.
That happens in the United States military too.
yeah.
There's suicides in the American military.
Especially today. Today we have more.
Yeah,
More kids are putting up. They cannot put up with it.
yeah. Some people can't. I mean, that's.
It's a serious business.
It is, yeah, it's very serious. I mean, now let me ask you a question. When you were on the border, when you were guarding the border, did you have patrols going along the
Patrols,
border?
of course. There are two
Did you
types.
have real rounds
Real,
in
of course.
in
Always.
always?
You got the patrol that
Yeah.
walks, and then you have the soldier that stays standing
Okay,
in one spot, and
Yeah,
you're watching certain areas.
right.
You know, that's army is not a
Yeah, piece of cake.
piece
Yeah,
of cake, but it is. It's a good good experience.
Now, you could see on the Turkish border, you could see the Turkish soldiers
Yes.
with binoculars.
And then, well, we could see with binoculars, but every time I wanted to, let's say, wash the clothes and stuff, we used to walk all the way down to the river.
Down to the river, yeah.
Which was forbidden, but anyway.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you didn't have washing machines like we do
no,
here.
no. You got to wash it by hand.
hands. Okay. All right. Let me ask you a question. In regards to uniforms, basically, how many uniforms were you issued, and how many boots were you issued when you got into the military? Remember?
Well, yes. The first thing you do when you go into the army, they give you a blanket, and they dump everything on the blanket.
That's all, huh?
And sometimes the numbers that you have, you could have a underwear that go down to your knees.
You have to cut them.
You cut them, or you got to exchange with somebody else with them short.
Oh, okay.
So this is the first trick that you learn,
Right.
how to survive. You
Right.
put it on in a blanket, and you carry it on and you go, and then you start selecting it, and you find out what it is. You know, 2 of each, every one of them.
So you have two shirts, 2 pants, 2 pairs of boots.
Everything, 2.
2. That's
Yeah.
it. No,
And
no 4.
Only one long coat.
Oh, okay. Winter coat.
Yeah.
And
winter coat.
you wore the winter coat up there on the border.
Of course.
It's cold.
I was lucky
It
because
snows.
mine was long.
Yeah. So it gets cold up there and it snows.
Yes.
It snows.
And it's cold. The wind at night when you are up at this mountain.
Yeah,
and
watching.
and the wind that it's like you
And
just go crazy.
And you were watching the Turks. Now, could you see at nighttime? Could you see their post and lights? Was it lit up, or was
yes.
it was lit up?
We didn't have too many problems with that. You know, we had a huge Evros.
Yeah, the river. Yeah,
the Evros River.
Evros
River that cuts through.
Okay.
We didn't have much, but you know, you have to be always aware of the enemy. It's right there.
Yeah.
One of the exercises, as I recall, when I was in the other post in
Along the
Albanian,
Albania.
and at that time there was an exercise, a NATO exercise,
Okay.
which is they call it Philippos 1, Philip 1.
Yeah. Okay.
The exercises from NATO
forces. So the Americans
yes,
were
yes.
involved.
Oh,
and
yes,
yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
And I recall, my general asked me to direct the traffic, our own people, to tell them where to go.
Yeah. Right.
And as I stood right in the center of the
Road.
and I was directing the traffic,
Right.
You know, you wear all this white stripe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Clothes,
Like
you know.
a police,
Yeah.
military
MP,
police.
an MP.
Yeah. MP.
And all of a sudden I see this tank is coming all directly towards me. You know, they did not like what I was ordered to tell them. They just want to do their own thing.
Was it a Greek?
Yeah,
No.
Greek, yeah.
Greek,
Oh, wait, and I jump out and got on the other side of the road. I was going to be killed.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
So those are incidents you don't never forget.
Never forget. Yeah, it's funny how you remember certain things in the military that you don't forget. Basically, do they allow Greek women to be in the army now? Is that changed or?
Now they do, but they do certain things. They're not out in the barricades.
They're not,
with the
no,
bag,
they
with
don't
the-
mix. They don't
No,
mix
no,
with
no.
the men.
There is no such thing like
Yeah.
they try to do here.
Yeah.
I'm totally against it. You go against nature. You leave 2 19-year-old people right in a manhole. What's going to
Foxhole,
happen?
yeah.
Foxhole.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Are they going to look at the enemy? Give me a break.
I love your honesty. That's
This is the way it is.
yeah,
Right or wrong?
yeah.
I see it wrong.
Okay, that's what it's for. So basically, were you stationed any place else besides the border of Yugoslavia, Albania, and the Turkish border? Did you go to any islands?
Then I came back to go to Thiva. where I was trained.
Okay.
And I became a trainer.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Did you speak English when you were?
No, I spoke no English. I
you
only spoke German because I had just come back from Germany.
Oh, that's right. So you were in Germany and you got your draft orders, and everybody has to come back and do their military time.
In Germany, I went there to work and to go to school.
Right.
And you are only a guest there. You don't get any paperwork that you can stay there forever. Whenever the German government tells you to go, you have to go.
Right.
And when I received the notification to go to the military, I asked them that
If you're in a
go
foreign
back.
country, in Germany or the United States, and you're Greek national, you have to do military time. Even though you might be in those countries for school for 4 or 5 years, you still have to come back and do your time.
Yes.
Everybody has to do military time. It's mandatory.
My dream to come to the United States was long before I came.
Oh, okay.
And one of the opportunities that I had was while I was in Germany. And while I was in a hairdressing salon, I worked as a hairdresser there. And I went to school also. I happened to have as a customer the wife of the commander of the base in Wiesbaden. The American base.
Wiesbaden base,
Yes. And I happened to know the people, and I asked them if it was possible for me to come to the States. But because a NATO country citizen was in another NATO country citizen, living in another NATO country, I could not make the papers to come. I had to be in Greece if I wanted to come to the United States.
Start physically.
Yeah, because I was just as a stranger there. So
Okay, just want to reiterate the Greek army, everybody is a conscript. At 19 years old, you have to go in for at least 2 years. In those years that you were in, the Greek army is over 100,000. It was 150,000 to 130,000 soldiers, one of the biggest per population in the world in regards to army. I looked this up, so it has more men in arms than any other country per population. The population is now 10 million people, and they can call up 1.5 million people in reserves because everybody did military times if they're caught. If you're in the military and you're on standby in the military, let me give you an example. I was in Greece one time and they were having problems with Turkey. The Greek pilots had to sleep in the planes, the jet planes. They had a 2-minute window to get up in the air. So they didn't have time to run out onto the tarmac, to get into the plane, to get up in the air. They had to sleep in their planes.
That's correct.
And they had to get their engines going, and they had to fly and intercept, of course, the Turks, basically the Turkish forces.
This happened to me while I was on vacation from United States into Greece in 1974. And the airports are shut down. I had my son then 2 years old. We all went to the American embassy and asked to come back because I had my business.
Right.
And a lot of people lost all their businesses. They could not leave the country. Even though I had served in the military, I could not leave the country. So finally, at one of my, of course it's a long story, but how I managed to get them to the plane, I managed to get off. But they want to take my son, who was an American born, and send them here. And I said, how about us, the parents? No, you cannot. You have to stay here until everything was clear, and then.
Because you might have been drafted.
Yeah,
I was called right in. Yeah.
Right in.
Right.
Everybody.
Wow.
Even though I had served in the army. That is after the military.
Exactly.
time.
Everybody has to do time.
Everybody.
If they're called up, they have to go.
You have to.
It doesn't matter. Up to what age? Up to 55, I think?
No, up to 40.
Up to 40 years old. So we've got to wrap it up. Thank you for coming. Oh, I forgot to show some pictures real quick. If we can get them in.
rationing. And the Screen magazine, in its second issue, tried to explain the main and he wanted to know that what he could do if they would improve. In world greater cities, becoming monuments to the courage and faith of the upstarted Americans. Buffalo Hunter, who with his great show made the old West from these broken streets.
Hello, my name is Dean Contover, and this is the History Show. Today we have a gentleman who was in the Greek Army. Usually I have people that are in the American Army, but I found somebody that was in the Greek Army, and he was in the Greek Army from 1965 to 1967. That's some time ago, but yeah, Greek Army is in NATO, and he's exercised with American soldiers, so he knows. His name is Dimitrios Mattheos, and I call him Dimitri if it's okay, and I'm going to show you some pictures of him in the Greek Army. But if you know anybody in the American Army or any army, the British Army or the Cypriot Army or the Angolan Army or whatever armies you know, and I'd like to have him on the show, please have him call Chumsa Telemedia, and we will get him on the show sometime in the future. I'd like to show you a picture of Demetrius, who was in the Army. The Greek Army had berets. The American Army had something new in regards to berets, but they've been wearing Greek armies. They've been wearing berets in the Greek Army. This is Dimitrios, a handsome young man. He was 19 years old. He was. Everybody is drafted in the Greek military. They're conscripts. At 19 years old, every male has to go in the military. And per population, they have the biggest army in the world. The army is about 150,000. And the country has, at this moment, 10 million population. So everybody, that's him showing that he just got a haircut. I'm going to turn the page here. His son did a good job in regards to getting this book put together. So this is Demetrius. He went to an artillery unit. This is an artillery unit. I'm trying to get the artillery unit.
105.
105 artillery. And this is the uniforms they had. Dimitri, how much did you get paid when you were in the Army?
Well, a lot of money.
A lot of money?
Yeah. $2 a month.
$2 a month. $2 a month.
Yeah.
How did you get? I'm gonna. Can we pan on this other page over here, also? $2 a month. How did you brush your teeth? How did you do? The soldiers are getting their haircut right here. Whoop. Right here, it's getting a haircut, and that's rope climbing. I'll show this a little later. How did you manage to get toothpaste or things like that? I mean, how did you shine your shoes?
Well, rent is already paid.
That's true.
All right.
Food.
Utilities are already paid.
Right.
You don't use much of electricity for air conditioning. They have the windows open.
Okay.
You don't have any expenses.
Okay.
And after all, you are in the army. An army is to be trained. You don't make a career of the army. You go there to become a better person.
There's some professionals in the Greek Army. I mean, in all armies, there are professionals to train you.
We're talking about us now.
Okay,
I was drafted to go to serve our country.
Right.
You go there to self-defense, to learn how to defend yourself and your country.
Right.
And it is unfortunate that here it's not mandatory. At least 6 months it should be mandatory. It's good for the men.
It was mandatory till the Vietnam War, and then they had a lottery in regards to mandatory. It was mandatory or draft. But they do have draft boards, and you still have to sign up for the draft when you're 18 in this country.
Yes.
So it's still there
yes.
underneath.
It exists.
It still exists.
But you don't get paid. With $2, you have to buy your...
It's more money now.
No, it's not
No,
much.
it's still, no?
Not much.
$2 is not very much money. But
nothing.
again, the prices in Greece were a little cheaper then.
Oh, yeah. You could buy a pack of cigarettes then for $2.
All right. Well,
So,
and everybody smoked, I bet, in the army.
and out of that, they used to deduct some money for the poor ones. We used to subsidize the poor.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
So you got paid $2, but you got your clothes, two shirts, 2 pants, 2 boots.
Everything.
Everything was in.
Get everything.
And the Greek military wore berets. You don't have special forces in the Greek military. You have commandos. Is that what they call them?
Special forces, like here, they have them.
Yeah, but they're dark green berets,
Oh yeah,
like the British.
definitely.
Special for commandos.
The
they wore
different
Greek
colors, but
Different colors,
the
right.
essence is the same.
The same. Okay. The Greek army is based on the British army, the marching, the
Yes.
training,
Yes.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
You know. So you went to basic training in Greece, in central Greece. You told me in the last show.
Yeah.
It was for 2 months,
Yes.
and then you were assigned to a unit, artillery unit, and that's where you learned to fire the 105 howitzer artillery rounds.
Yes. Bazookas, artillery,
Artillery, okay.
all of them.
But it was an artillery unit. In other words, Greece borders on the north and west. They border Albania. At that time, the border was closed.
Yes.
Yugoslavia, the border was open.
Closed again.
It closed more or less
Other the communists,
under the communists. Bulgaria at the time
Same thing.
definitely closed.
everything.
Turkish border, you could basically cross it.
Not really. You could not
Well,
cross
I
it.
mean,
You have to go through
If I had American passport,
Oh, yes.
I could cross
Yes.
the border into
through
Turkey.
the borders.
But basically, no one really crossed the Yugoslavian border. I'll tell you a
Not
story. I crossed the Yugoslavian border when I was in Greece. I went through Yugoslavia. I crossed through a town called Evzone,
Yeah.
where they have the Evzone soldiers from. Where they got that.
Evzone is the entrance to the different countries.
I see.
That's what it is. It's like Tijuana, Mexico. You go
Right.
to Tijuana from here,
Right.
from United
to
States.
go in there.
And
Okay.
that's the Evzone.
Okay. So you were on the border, and for how long were you on the border in artillery?
8.5 months I was at the Triethnes, three countries.
Okay, which is Albania, Yugoslavia, and Greece. So you were up in the mountains. It's
Where the
mountainous.
Greeks fought the Germans and kept them so long that they lost the war at the end. Remember, the Greeks kept them for 6 months fighting.
All right, let me refresh my
Okay.
memory. What happened in history is the Italians tried to take over Greece, right?
Yeah.
The Italians botched it, and they were caught in the valley, and completely their armies were completely destroyed by the Greek guerrillas.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
So what happened is the Germans had to send down the Fifth Army, or 1 or 2 armies, because Tito had his guerrillas in Yugoslavia, and the supply lines were attacked into Greece.
Yeah.
So the Tito and his guerrillas and the Greek guerrillas fought an action in the mountains against. This is my history. I'm surprised it's still come back to me. They fought the Greeks for months. The Germans for months, and they finally took over Athens and they took over Greece.
No, but what happened is at the time when the Germans came so strong over the Greeks, and even the Greeks were wounded, and even though they were wounded and blood set all over them, they were still fighting. And when they captured this entrance, this Mount of Tepeleni, as they call it in the dry country there that I described to you, they just stood in front of them and they saluted them for being heroes.
The Germans.
The Germans.
Wow.
They saluted the Greeks for being such a heroes. And it's in the history books.
Okay.
What Churchill said, the Greeks.
I'm not aware of that, but that's
Churchill
that's a little
had-
history.
Yeah, well, yes.
So what happened?
They fight like heroes.
It slowed
The
down.
heroes fight like the Greeks.
The perception is that it slowed down the German army from attacking Russia sooner.
That's right.
They didn't. The Russians did not attack I mean, the Germans did not attack
Russia.
Russia till June 1st.
They miscalculated the timing.
Because they had to take care of Yugoslavia and Greece
yeah.
in a guerrilla war, and it slowed them down, which they should have started the offensive in Russia April 1st.
That's correct.
We're talking geography, history, and we're talking about weather.
And at the time, by the time they went to Russia, cold winter had settled, and they
got
just
trapped
between
the weather.
army and the weather.
If they were there 2 months ahead, they would have taken over.
That's correct.
Moscow and Stalingrad would have been a piece of cake.
But be much easier. But don't forget, our army, the Americans at the time, they did such a good job. They produced so many products, even here in Lowell, as I heard what happened during the Second War. People were working and sending out all these goods all over the world,
it's funny you
supporting the Russians and the English.
My mother worked in a parachute factory in Lowell.
Yeah.
So that's true. I think there was even some ammunition made in Lowell.
A lot.
So there was a big thing going in, clothes and et cetera, that type of thing. So get back to you. So get back to Greece, right? We're going to be back. So you're up in that area. You're training all the time. Cold, up in the mountains, snow.
Oh, yeah.
People don't realize snow in the mountains in Greece. I mean, this was right on
2 meters.
So this is called this part of Greece is called what? The Macedonian part of Greece.
Macedonia.
Right.
Yes.
And right on the border. So, can you see the enemy? Can you see the Albanians and Yugoslavian soldiers?
There is only one Macedonia, which is Greece. There is no second Macedonia.
Okay.
Let's put it this way.
Okay.
What they're trying to pull out now, this is
revision
not
of history.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
So,
but this is about you.
But no, if the answer is no, I did not see I was not so close. To the border. I was in a city called Sidirokastro.
Okay. Did you see people come in from Yugoslavia?
They were coming in trucks and buses and all of this. They were coming through that road.
Escaping communism, or
a lot of them they had escaped. But at the time when I was there was not too much of such activity.
Okay. So do you tell me stories about when you were on the base in northern Greece and what you did? What was the basic premise to protect?
Well, we were there to protect our country, which is Greece.
Right.
And we were every day trained to maintain our initial training that we had, which is how to fire the 105 cannons.
Right.
And to maintain a healthy army.
What's the range of a 105 cannon?
How many miles?
Yeah.
I can't recall that now. I'm sorry, I can't recall it.
All right. But it's substantial enough.
It is substantial. Yes, it's one of the best that we had at the time. Don't forget now, the army is so sophisticated with
missiles and
missiles that are made here in Andover.
So that's a secret, by the way. No one's supposed to know that. So what happens is you have artillery, so you're not close to the border. You're not close.
Well, I'm not next to
okay. You're not next to the border. So you're there, and all of a sudden you get orders to go. You have orders, right?
Always. We are always on standby. The army means you've trained and you keep trained to be there, like the firemen. You can sit down all day, and then all of a sudden 2-3 fires come along. You have to be there, ready to go.
And to protect the nation.
That's right.
And you were on the southern flank of NATO. That's what they call the southern flank, right? Turkey and NATO were NATO in that southern flank.
Greece has been always a staunch ally of NATO and United States. It has fought all the wars shoulder to shoulder with the Americans. From Korean,
World War
II, all the way to today's war in Afghanistan.
I'd just like to read some of the wars that the Greek had engagements in, the Greek army. The Greek War of Independence, the Greco-Turkish War of 1897, the First Balkan War, the Second Balkan War, World War I, that's another war.
Yeah.
Allied expeditionary to the Ukraine, the Greco-Turkish War of 1919 and 1922. That was a big war.
Yeah. The expulsion of the Greeks
Greeks,
from
right.
Asia Minor.
Right.
That's another issue.
Yes, yeah.
That they tortured and killed 353,000 Greeks.
Is that almost
353,000.
Is that
from
almost
Podos.
is that almost like the
Genocide.
Albanians?
No, no.
Well,
This
the
is from
Albanians claimed that there was genocide
From by whom?
by the Turks.
Oh yes, but the Albanians are in a different.
On the other side, yeah, I understand. But you're saying that this is a
talking
genocide.
about Turkey.
Okay.
353,000 Greeks were expelled and killed.
Okay, and,
From
and
Asia
this is
Minor.
during the Greco-Turkish War of 1919 and 1922.
That's right.
Then they were also in World War II. They were also in the Greek Civil War, which took place after World War II, which was what's the years?
1941 to 1945, 46.
The guerrilla
And
war.
then the guerrilla war 47.
Guerrilla War of 47 to 49,
Yes,
or something like
yes.
that.
And then the Marshall Plan came along.
Yeah, and helped
They
out.
helped out.
Korean War, they were in the Korean War, the Greeks fought in the
Yes,
Korean War.
all along.
They also fought in the Gulf War,
Yeah.
Desert Storm, and they were in the Afghani War, the war in Afghanistan, and war on terrorism.
Don't forget, even though, even if they are not in a war fighting together, Greece is always with America and Greece always with NATO. Look at the bases. The biggest base in the island of Crete, the underground. You know that we have all the submarines there. And of course the Suda Bay, one of the most effective, I would say, in the Mediterranean Sea. So Greece is always alongside with America.
They used to
And
have
everywhere.
they used to have bases in Athens.
Athens, they still do.
Well, that's kind of
It's a different kind of
yeah. It's they
base now.
kind of moved that out.
Yeah.
They
Larissa.
wanted in Larissa, which is the north.
Yeah.
Basically, what happens is Greece was occupied for 400 years by the Turks, and Dimitri could tell you the story, but that's we're going to get we'll get into that when he's up along the Turkish border. But what I like to say in regards to that they were occupied for 400 years, the Greeks don't like being occupied, and they don't like to occupy another country.
No.
That's why Dimitri is very defensive in regards to say that the army, the Greek army, is a defensive army.
It is, and that's why since the day one we were born, we trained how to defend ourselves. It's in our blood.
Greece is very protective of, very secretive, but a small nation like that has to be secretive in regards to maps. They don't like they don't like satellite maps because they're very vulnerable, and they know that.
Today everything is exposed.
Yeah, it's almost- yeah,
we have
I know.
Uncle Sam that goes on top of
Yeah.
it and
Yeah.
watches everything.
Yeah.
So now we know everything and everybody what they do.
Just about. So the officer corps is just like the American Army. It goes from lieutenant, was it lieutenant, all the way up to general.
To the general. Yeah.
Same
Four star.
rank.
Same rank like here.
The Greek army enlisting rank is different. The stripes are the chevrons are facing down rather than up like the American army.
Yeah.
So that's different.
Yes.
And I still can't get
Like the
over it that
English.
you got paid $2 a month.
Yeah, at the time that's how much we got, and
All
we
right.
had to had deductions for the queen. At the time we had the queen.
That's right. You had a queen. What was the name of the queen?
Federici.
Federici. Okay. He was assigned up to the border of Yugoslavia, and he gets orders for Turkey. Right.
Yes. Then I get the order to go to the other end, which is Soufli. It's northern part of Alexandroupolis and close to Turkey. And that end.
So on the Turkish border, there's a river that splits.
Evros.
the Evros River that splits. You said that last
Yeah,
time.
it's a big river.
And you go down and you watch the Turkish
Across
forces.
the river.
And you said something.
They were violent. They didn't. They were not civilized at the time. So.
What? The Turkish army was not civilized?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. Nothing like us.
No?
No. We had order. We had respect. We had nothing.
Do you think that today the Turkish army, the Greek army could stand up to the Turkish army if Turkey attacked Greece?
Anytime. I'll be the first one to go.
You'd be the first one to go. Okay, so it's in your blood. All right, so you were along the border of Turkey. Turkey and was part of the Ottoman Empire. They occupied Greece for 400 years, so the people on the border know their history, right? The Greek soldiers know their history, so they're very alert to what the Turks are doing. Could you see the Turks on the other side of the river?
Of course you can.
Yeah. Did they have towers? Towers, and they
Towers, they're watching.
but binoculars.
Oh,
And,
yeah. You know, today's wars are not going to be won by guns.
That's true.
Remember, this is things of the past.
That's
now this
correct.
is all history.
That's correct.
And that's what we're talking about, history.
Right.
Today the wars, as you can see, the Turkish airplanes, they violating every day the airspace.
Mm-hmm.
And what do? They just chase them out of there.
Right.
So they just play hide and seek.
Right.
But if they continue, someday, you know, one of them might be.
What happens is now
water.
is the Turkish Air Force has flyovers on the Aegean Sea, which are Greek islands. And what happens is when they fly over, and sometimes they fly in a mass of flights. In some cases, it's almost 100 planes in mass. What happens is the Greek Air Force has to get their pilots up in the air and chase them back into Turkey. This has been going on for years. It's not reported in the American press, but this happened. And not only that is that the Turkish warships sometimes veer into some of the waters of the Greek territory, and they're chased away by the Greek naval ships. You know. And this is an ongoing thing. I mean, planes crash into the Aegean Sea, Turkish planes, Greek sailors go over and pluck them out of the water when they parachute into the water. I mean, this is an ongoing thing. And most countries have this basic problem.
But don't forget.
In regards to the borders, we never hear about it, but these little small wars are going on.
Yeah, don't forget, Turkey is one of the good kids, quote unquote, of United States.
Right.
They have a large space, which we occupied about 25 bases.
Right.
Now maybe we have fewer.
Right.
But still, you know, for United States, we have to look at our interests.
The big picture.
The big picture is the Middle East, and
That's correct.
it's an area that we cannot resist but being kind to the Turks.
You know, you make a good point, and I'll tell you what. You make a very good point in regards to war. Warfare as we know it is basically over. It's cyber warfare.
That's what it is.
Basically.
Yeah.
I mean, we could attack the electric systems in the country and we'll be down for months.
Yeah.
And there'll be chaos within. And that's what we have to be ready for. And I don't think we're ready, because it will hurt us as a country, because everything is dependent on the computer and cyberspace. And the thing is that we have to learn that we have to protect our grid. If we don't protect our grid, we're going to have big problems.
This is the greatest nation on earth, United States. The technology that we have developed is far away from every other nation on earth.
Yeah, but
we are 50 years ahead all the time. In as much as we don't see it, we are still 50 years ahead.
But do you think that in regards to that certain nations can knock down our system, our cyber system? I mean, yeah.
That could happen.
Look
what happened with the planes at the towers. They paralyzed our country, paralyzed the world. The two planes that they went into towers.
Oh, into.
You know, today,
Yeah.
the
Twin Towers.
terrorism, it's something that you cannot really hold it. You cannot see it.
Well,
It's terrible.
Well, and you would know this. Terrorism has been going on in Europe for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
It's nothing new.
But nothing so strong as it is today.
Okay, let me ask you a question, and you don't have to answer this question. Do you think that the world is in the fifth crusade?
You know, we get into a different chapter. Those people who hold the world, the 10 big companies, they will do whatever they want to do. They're not going to ask us.
All right. I just
Yeah.
wanted.
Today they changed the war, the fighting, into a theater. Whoever heard the theater, fighting is a theater? Think about
Well,
this.
I mean, in the American Army during World War II, they had the Atlantic theater and the European theater
Well,
and the
that-
Asian theater, that type of thing.
But this
So-
kind of wars, they don't belong into the
Yeah.
military theater.
Yeah. I'm going to show you a book. I'm going to show you a book again here. Again, if you just tuned in, this is a picture of him in his Army uniform. Dimitri again was in the Greek Army
Yeah, turn it around.
from 1965 to 1967. Here, I'm just going to try to get over here a little bit more. I don't know. That's him. I'm going to show you some more pictures.
The other way.
Dimitri, thank you for coming on the show. I mean, this is enlightening for me and recalling history for me. This is Dimitri. No,
other side.
right there. This is Dimitri in his artillery outfit. Okay. And that's, of course, when you're in the Army, you take pictures. You take different pictures. Let me see if I can get another. Oh, I'm sorry. Whoa, that's a good shot.
Yeah.
That's it. Now, let me see if there's another picture I want to get in regards to the helmets. If you can pan on this picture, you could see in 1965 and 1967, they were wearing World War II helmets. So basically,
M1.
and M1 rifles. So basically, you could see that they were hand-me-downs in regards to British helmets and probably British rifles. So that's basically what's happening. All right. So this is a book that Dimitri's son put together for him in regards to the history of his.
Yeah.
And now Dimitri lives in this country, has a business of his own. He's doing very well. He loves his country.
Right.
He's an American citizen. He's involved in Greek things.
Societies.
Greek societies. You were president of one of the societies, I think?
Evoikos Society.
The what?
Evoikos.
Of course. It's part of Greece, I think.
Evia, from the island of Evia.
The island of Evia society that he's very important in. And I have to talk to you about that after the show. But he comes from an island just north of the Attica Peninsula, which is called Evia, right?
Evia.
And the second biggest island after Crete. If you've been to Crete, you'll know that's the second biggest island. Did you go to the Olympics in Greece when they were having the Olympics?
I was in the Olympics. My daughter, as a matter of fact, was working for the Olympics.
Oh, is
She
that
worked
right?
there, and also, incidentally, for just a point of information, we out of the island of Evia, there is a great individual was born. His name was George Papanikolaou.
He was a physician.
For those who know the pap test,
Right.
well, this person was born in the island of Evia.
Thank you for coming
Thank
on
you.
the show.
Thank you very much.
A lot of information.
Thank you.
And I hope people enjoyed the show. And
Thank
I'm
you.
sure they will. It's a different perspective from what they see and hear